Hey, how you doing YouTube? I'm back in the video, and today I'm going to be talking about the possibility of Goran Dragic getting traded. And I mean, the reason this video is even a thing is there have been articles coming out that the Miami Heat are putting Goran Dragic up into the trade block. Now this makes some sense. I mean, I'm sure they're just trying to rebuild. They're trying to get fresh, new, young faces on team and still get value out of Goran Dragic while you can, as he is 32 years old, but last year was an all-star level point guard. So I mean, they want to get some value out of him, I'm sure. And I mean, a lot of people think he's going to go to Phoenix. I don't think he's going to go to Phoenix. But what I'm going to say in this video is like where I think he could be getting traded to, where I think like he will be traded to, what the trade package could be, and why it would benefit both teams to do the trade. So without further ado, without rambling on too much, let's get right into this video. Alright, so the first thing we get into for this video is going to be where I think he is going to go, and I personally think that the New Orleans Pelicans could be looking at it or trading for him. And I mean, I think they could definitely be a huge contender for Goran Dragic, at least to get him in a trade, as I mean, they do need a point guard and they can offer some value to the Miami Heat. Plus, I mean, there have been reports that there is a possibility of Goran Dragic being traded to the New Orleans Pelicans. But now let's get into the actual trade package itself. What I think would be that the Pelicans would get Goran Dragic and Rodney McGruder, as the Heat got Solomon Hill, E'Twaun Moore, and the rookie Frank Jackson. And now this kind of might look a little bit lopsided to y'all if y'all just look at it at face value. But let me get into some reason why it makes sense for the Heat and the Pelicans, and I'll be able to make sense of this trade for you. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to get into is why this makes sense for the Miami Heat. Now, I mean, they will get much needed scoring, as last year they were ranked in the 7th worst in points per game and 17th in threes per game. So I mean 3-point percentage. So I mean, they weren't a very good scoring team, nor could they shoot the 3-ball at a very high percentage at all. But I mean, that is what they're going to be getting out of E'Twaun Moore. Their shooting percentage from 3 is going to go way up, and so is their scoring. Maybe not their scoring way up, but he's definitely going to improve their scoring, as I mean, the dude was ranked 11th in the NBA in 3-point percentage last year at 42%. That is very efficient from the three-pointer, and I mean, he is very reliable out there too. And the more minutes you give him, the more he's going to score, and maybe his percentage will go down a little bit, but he is a dead-eye shooter. Now, he's going to have to work on his driving game and dribbling, making his own shot, but I mean, if he is open, obviously 42% of the time, it is going to fall. And I mean, you can definitely rely on him, as I mean, the dude's shooting percent from 3 was higher than players like Kyrie Irving and JJ Redick. I mean, JJ Redick is one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. Kyrie Irving is one of the most elite point guards in the entire league, and his 3-point shooting percentage is above both of them and Kemba Walker and other players like that. So I mean, you can definitely rely on him to give you efficient scoring off the bench or starting, depending on what they decide to do him. Now, Solomon Hill, now yes, he is on a very bad contract, but Goran Dragic is also on a pretty big contract as well. So I mean, they kind of have to swap bad contract, maybe not bad contract, but they do have to swap big contracts. Solomon Hill was needed for his trade for it to work, and I mean, I'm sure you'd rather Solomon Hill than Alexis Ajinça, who would have been the other player I had to throw in there besides Solomon Hill. And Solomon Hill can give you value, as he can also shoot the three well. He's more of a bench player, like the 7th or 8th man in a rotation. He can give you a few points, he can shoot a 3 at a kind of high rate, and I mean, you never know. Maybe he can start development. When he was at Indiana, he was a pretty good player. I kind of liked him. We didn't give him much minutes. He was injured pretty much all of last year. So, I mean, you can't really judge that. I mean, and he can be a solid player off your bench if you use him correctly. And then Frank Jackson, I mean, no one really knows what he's going to look like, as he was the first pick of the 2nd round last year. And, I mean, he really didn't have any highlights, any stats, because he was out for his entire rookie year with a foot injury. But we all knew that he was going to be out for the entire year when he was drafted. And, I mean, he showed some very good signs in the NBA Summer League this year, and I would think that he is going to develop into a pretty nice role player for whatever team he's on, and they could be a very nice player for the Miami Heat, and they would just get even younger with this trade, which would be very nice, as E'Twaun's not that old, and Frank Jackson is very young. Now, my second reason why it makes sense for Miami Heat, they could start the rebuild, as I mean, now some people might like, why would they rebuild? They're a pretty decent team. They have a star in Hassan Whiteside. Last year, another all-star Goran Dragic. They're pretty much one star away from, well, I really just think they're a very middle-of-the-pack team, and I can't see them getting much better unless Bam Adebayo has a huge year next year. And he had a good rookie year, but unless he has a breakout year, or Josh Richardson or whatever his name is, has another good year like he did this year, I just cannot see them being a much better team than they were last year, especially since Dwayne Wade is still considering retirement. So, I mean, you really don't know how good they're going to be, and there's really no point in being a middle-of-the-pack team in the NBA, as, I mean, if you're in the middle of the pack, you're going to make the playoffs, but you're not good enough to contend for a finals contender, so you're going to get bounced about the first or second round, and if you're, well, really trash, at least you get a good pick. But when you're in the middle of the pack, you don't get a good pick, nor do you get to contend for finals. So you never really want to be a middle of the pack team in the NBA, as, I mean, you just never know what happens. And this would be able to kick off the rebuild a lot, as yes, they would get worse from this trade. I am highly aware that they will get worse from this trade, but they will be getting a young player in Frank Jackson who can develop into a nice role player for him. Eton Moore can give him some scoring off the bench, but not enough to where they're going to win games. And then Solomon Hill will be a nice player off the bench. So I'm not saying they have to be the worst team in the NBA. I'm just saying they probably would benefit them not to make the playoffs and be a lottery team this year. So, I mean, I just think that they want to get that rebuild going very, very soon. So, that's my opinion on the trade. I think it does make sense for the Heat. But comment below, do you think it makes sense for the Heat? I think it's going to be kind of on the fence for Heat fans. I don't know how they're going to feel about it. I want to know how y'all feel about it. But now I'm getting into why it makes sense for the New Orleans Pelicans to make this trade. And now I'm sure a lot of people can see why it makes sense for the Pelicans in this trade. As, I mean, they will get a point guard depth. Right now, besides Elfrid Payton, they don't have any less starting caliber point guards, but I mean, they really have no backup point guards at all, as right now their backup point guard is Frank Jackson, who I do think is going to develop into a good player, but I mean, it's going to take time for him to gel, and if he's your backup point guard, it's going to be kind of hard to make the playoffs. And Elfrid Payton's a good point guard, but he's not going to be able to carry that point guard position all by himself. So I think with the additions of Goran Dragic to help Elfrid Payton with that starting position, now they'll have very, very good depth at that point guard position, as now you have an all-star level point guard at starting in Elfrid Payton, who's a very, very good player. Not very good player, but I mean a very good young player off your bench, which will be very, very solid. And I think that he'll be able to, like, really, now you have that point guard position locked down. You have your two guys, that's who you're going to roll with, and you're good. Now, like, you got that out of the way. That's one hole that you have filled. But now, my second reason is going to be that it will let Holiday stay at the shooting guard position. Now, a lot of y'all might have been like, well, I mean, they have Drew Holiday, don't they? Why wouldn't they just put him at the point guard? Well, I mean, Drew Holiday just had probably one of his best seasons since he made the All-Star team with the 76ers. As, I mean, he was a beast, and he played the shooting guard position, because Rondo took over the point guard role, and then Drew Holiday was able to be a shooting guard and do what he wants to do, play good defense, score and shoot. Like, he's a shooting guard at heart, I'm sure. I mean, you don't have that much of an improvement in 1 year if you I think it was shooting guard that made him have such a good year. As, I mean, last year he was able to average 19 points per game, 1.5 steals per game, 6 assists per game, and 4 rebounds per game. And those 1.5 steals per game do not, like, show how good of a defender this dude is. He's an absolute lockdown defender. If they can be able to keep him at shooting guard, that would be very, very important. And let him run as minimal point guard as possible. That would be very, very nice for this team. I'm not saying he's a bad point guard or anything by any means. I love him, but I mean, I think he's a much better shooting guard than he is point guard. Still a decent point guard, but a much better shooting guard. He's a borderline all-star at the shooting guard position. And then, now my third and final reason why it makes sense for the New Orleans Pelicans, they would have very strong starting five. Now, this has kind of been a bad thing for them last year. I mean, they never had a legit good starting five. I mean, they always had one or two holes in their starting five, and Anthony Davis was able to carry them. But now, if you're able to have this starting five, look what they have. In every position, you have at least a starting caliber player, if not a fringe all-star. As obviously last year, you have an all-star point guard who last year, Goran Dragic, who, I mean, he was a very good player, and he wasn't going to be all-star unless injuries happened. I am aware of that, but he was still an all-star point guard, nothing but less. And, I mean, still a very good veteran to have on your team. He's kind of old, but, I mean, he will definitely have a good year like he had last year. I mean, he's not to the point where he's unusable. And then, at the shooting guard position, obviously, you have Drew Holiday. He was on the all-defensive first team this year. There's a huge reason why they swept the Portland Trail Blazers and were able to get one game against the Warriors in the playoffs this year, and a huge reason for their success. Darius Miller, now, not a lot of people know about him. He's kind of a no-name. He's like one of those no-names that performs pretty well for, like, not many people knowing him. I mean, he had a solid year last year. He can definitely get you some points and shoot the ball. He was another one of the most efficient three-point shooters in the league. He can give you high efficiency shooting, but I mean, he's pretty much there just like because he can hold it down. He's a starting caliber small forward, you know, he's just there holding it down. And then at power forward, you have Julius Randle or Nikola Mirotic. They're probably going to get swapped out. Nikola Mirotic, Julius Randle would just offer you two different things. With Julius Randle, you don't have much of a deep threat from the three or anything. You have a very good rebounder and bang in the post type player, and you can play very good defense. But if you go with Nikola Mirotic, now you have a dude who can shoot three, grab rebounds, and play good defense and not as explosive. So it's pretty much like what the Pelicans want to do. But either one of them are going to be very, very good starting forwards. And whichever one's at the backup, they're going to have very good depth at the forward. And then obviously at the 5, Anthony Davis. Not much needs to be said. He's the top 5 player in the NBA. He has one of the most best eyebrows you've ever seen. And he's just a top 5 player in the NBA, and I mean, he's an absolute beast. You cannot really stop him. And that showed as he pretty much carried the Pelicans to a playoff berth. And I mean, Willie Boogie Cousins went down. So I mean, I think hands down their starting 5 is the best it's been in years. Their bench is pretty good, as now they're going to have overpaid if they did this trade.
Amazing on the inside, and
still have Cook, I think. You have
Drew has not had many looks lately. See if he can break it off on Lillard. He'll take the long 2. Got it! Pels back up by 2. Clutch, 95-93. Holiday's got 25.
If they can kind of that backup in the bench, so I mean, that's something they also haven't had in a while. This video is getting kind of long, so I'm going to end it right here. But comment below, do you agree with me? Do you think the trade package is fair? What do you think the trade package should have been? If you disagree with me, comment that below as well. I really want to hear your thoughts. When I was making this trade package, I had to change it up a couple times because I just wasn't sure about it. But I'm pretty sure this one's a semi-fair trade package, and I just want to hear your thoughts and opinions.
Holiday pulls up.
If you'd like to do anything like when this subscribe button, we're at 7 subscribers away from 700 subscribers. Thank y'all so much.
Holiday play, they cleared out the entire side for him.
We've almost gained 100
rhythm dribble just stepped into it. You see his reaction there.
For that, y'all can show so much support, and I want y'all to keep showing it off.
Sticks for Dragic. Goran has 5 of Miami's first 7.
And I hope you have a blessed day, because I had a blessed day, so see you tomorrow.
Torian Prince dribbles it off his foot.